The Edmonton Oilers, as a franchise, is a complete and utter disgrace. This isn't about the players, this is about management and ownership and just all the executives that work for that organization. Bunch of clowns because they can't get anything right. It doesn't matter what it is. So last week, the news broke about, Bruce Cassidy, who Vegas fired with like 8 games left in the season, that the Oilers had asked for permission to talk to Cassidy. In the end, Vegas denied that permission. And, there's a lot of things about that where Vegas is being cutthroat and people aren't happy that that's not the way things are done and yada, yada, yada. That's fine and dandy. However, this was already leaked and Chris Knobloch was still employed. Now, here's the thing. Something like this probably happens all the time because how else is a team going to talk to a coach? They get permission, they maybe decide do they want to change coaches, and then they let someone go and they have someone kind of lined up. I don't think that's like new. This isn't the first time that, permission has been granted, and this happens quite a bit actually. It's pretty norm that a coach who was let go, who the team that let him go is paying the salary for, can't wait to get rid of him off the books. And eventually they grant permission to allow that coach to seek employment elsewhere. However, in this case, from Vegas' point of view, yes, they're cutthroat and all that, and maybe they don't want to help the others who are in their own division in terms of a rival. However, the thing is, the Oilers clearly don't know what they're doing because not very often that you hear things like this get leaked. And Chris Knobloch was still employed, and then Knobloch was let go about 2 days later. I think, the news broke, was it like on a Monday afternoon or something, and then Wednesday morning he was let go or something like that. I don't remember the timeline exactly. Either way, Chris Knobloch seems like a really nice guy. Chris Knobloch is not the problem. Sure, you can justify changing a coach if you want to, I guess, sure. But the problem wasn't the coach. He could have been one of the problems, perhaps. He was not the main problem. There is only one problem with the Oilers. And the reason they're not going far or going to win a Stanley Cup in this Connor McDavid era, sorry, Oilers fans, nothing's going to happen because all that's happened is in the last year and a bit is the team has gone down the tubes. And the Oilers have had the luck of getting the two of the biggest stars in the world on that franchise who can pretty much single-handedly carry a very imperfect roster, an imperfect team all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. And they lost to, of course, a very superior team in the Florida Panthers. Not once, but twice. However, the problem is the roster. The coach does not create the roster. He's not the one that does the free agent, signings. He's not the one that does the trades. There's only one guy to blame for this. This fucking idiot. I have not heard one person who has, anytime we've heard anything, someone said anything good about this guy. Not one person that I've seen, even trolls or anybody, commenting online to different media platforms or whatever you want to say, or social media, whatever people, that's anything out there. No one's been like, oh, this was a fantastic hire for the Oilers. We can't wait till they turn the team around. No. The coach was not the problem. You can go and get John fucking Cooper to coach this team and they're not going to go anywhere. The Oilers made it to the finals not because the team was fucking great. They made it because Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are superstars. They're fucking studs. And they took a shitty-ass team all the way to the final. And honestly, I don't care for the Oilers. I really don't. However, at the same time, I've really gained a lot of respect for what McDavid did in the offseason when he didn't take a raise or anything, took a pay cut and be like, here you go, I want to win. The guy wants to win. And I commend him for that. He wasn't like, oh, I want to take all the money. He wasn't doing what the Leafs have done, signing their core forward and just giving them money, and they do jack shit when it matters. He gave up all that money, and then what did they do? He gave up the money and they went and signed Trent Frederick to a stupid 8-year contract. Trent Frederick. The same guy who's known as a fourth line guy, occasionally can play on the third line. They gave him an 8-year deal. That was ridiculous. You already had one anchor on your books in terms of Darnell Nurse's contract, which, obviously precedes Bowman. I get it. It's been going on for a while. Darnell Nurse isn't a bad defenseman. He's not a top end. He's not a top pairing defenseman. You can argue he's a top four. You know, I get it. People, there's a lot of hate for him, but really the hate isn't because of Nurse. Yeah, he makes some boneheaded plays sometimes. He's a good 4, 5. Occasionally he can be a 3. Fine. Darnell Nurse is nowhere close to a $9.5 million player. He never fucking has been. Doesn't matter how much the cap goes up. That's still a shitty contract. On top of that, this moron up here goes and makes the stupidest trade of the season where he trades Stuart Skinner. And I get Skinner wasn't the perfect goalie. He's had his ups and downs. The guy was a nice guy. Sure, I get it. This is not about nice guys. It's about business. It's about winning. Fine. If you're going to do that, go and trade for a star goalie or a guy that's got some sort of pedigree. What in the world had Tristan Jarry ever done? He didn't do shit. So not only did you go out and get another version of Stuart Skinner, it's just a guy named something different other than Stuart Skinner, you instead attached one of the better defensemen on your roster, Brett Kulak, who's a very serviceable D, who's really stepped up in the playoffs, and like a pick, and you'd send him to Pittsburgh to offload Stuart Skinner's contract, who would have been a free agent anyways. And instead, you took on an extra couple of years of Jarry's like ridiculous contract. The same Tristan Jarry, you ended up going to the minors, like for Pittsburgh, and like he's not a good goalie. When this deal was made, there was now one person that was like, "Oh wow, the Oilers, what a steal!" Sure, there were some people like, "Oh, you know, got to give him a chance. Skinner sucks. We have to get him out of town. Anything's better than Stewart." Really? Was it really better? And then on top of that, you add Kulak into the deal, like. How does that make any sense? And then Pittsburgh turns around and trades Kulak to Colorado, where Kulak, scored a very important goal in the Minnesota series last week, and they got a pick out of that too. And then you went and signed Andrew Mangiapane, and then you had to get rid of Andrew Mangiapane because he didn't work, and you had to attach a fucking first round pick to that. Like, if I'm Connor McDavid, I'm Leon Draisaitl, I'm asking for a trade and be like, I'm done. And you know what the thing is? No true Oilers fan, I'm not talking about those bandwagoners or any of these delusional fuckers, I'm talking about actual fans. No true Edmonton Oilers fan can get mad at those guys for wanting out because this team is a fucking shit show. You don't know how to do business. First of all, why would you hire this guy? This guy did jack shit in Chicago. And then what does he do right when he gets on the job? Sure, let's go out and sign freaking Jeff Skinner. Ooh, that's a great signing. Let's get Victor Arvidsson. Sure, okay. I understand the logic behind them being a veteran player. Problem is, you still had Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg to address. And sure, in hindsight, people can be like, oh, they probably weren't going to be worth that, this and that. Philip Broberg would have been the best fucking defenseman on the Oilers. And I'm not talking about Evan Bouchard and his stupid moves. I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the offensive numbers. I'm talking about overall defensive game, which is what the Oilers lack. And Dylan Holloway would have been a perfect top 6, complement for Draisaitl or McDavid on whichever line they want to put him on. You also traded Ryan McLeod, who would have been a perfect third-line center. And I get it. Matt Savoy, that in a way kind of worked out. Sure, you can say for both teams that's worked out. But you got totally screwed over by Doug Armstrong for not one, but 2 offer sheets. Like, I'm Stan Bowman. The guy's done nothing. He fucking screwed up in Chicago. Like, isn't he the idiot that traded away Artemi Panarin to reacquire Brandon Saad? Like, that made no sense. It just boggles my mind. And then you're gonna fire the fucking coach. There's one guy to fire. There's nothing to do. It's nothing about a coach. It's nothing about the defensive shit. Forget about Darnell Nurse. People realize that Jake Wallman's getting $7 million a year. Jake Wallman's not even a fucking top 4 defenseman. Like, honestly, he's regressed. It looked like it was a great deal when it happened. When, San Jose, the savvy team that they've been rebuilding, that's great. Like, the Oilers couldn't do jack shit right with all those number 1 picks when they had Hall and, they had Nuge and they had Yakupov. And then they got a generational talent fall in their lap. And they still can't fucking get that right. And now this guy, if he leaves, like I said, not one Oilers fan should be mad. They'd be like, go, Connor. Go win a fucking cup. Go win your cup somewhere with an organization that knows how to build a team. Because these fucking idiots don't know how to do anything. Like, fire this clown. This guy's done nothing. Oh, on top of that, he's the same jackass that was in charge in Chicago when all that shit went down with, the whole, we don't want to talk about it, issue, right? Like, the issue. And it's just mind-boggling. And that's why I think Daryl Cates is a fucking moron. I don't care, he's a billionaire. He's a fucking idiot when it comes to managing a team. This is ridiculous. The Oilers are a trash organization. Full stop.